now, though, is the former Defence Select Committee chair and Conservative MP Tobias Ellwood. Good morning, Mr. Ellwood. What's your reaction to Suella Braverman's sacking?
Well, can I firstly just react to the comments that you've been making there? Because, I'm going to disagree with so much of what you have to say. And I know this is going to provoke, but, that conversation I just heard there, you're speaking in a bubble. And I just say this with respect. It's absolutely important that we listen to our base, our roots of our party and so forth. But what we've been seeing over the last months, indeed years, is the right of the party, dominate and move us to the right. And that doesn't appeal to the wider electorate. You look back at our election history, where we have won is because we've actually appealed to the center ground as well as the right. We've looked beyond our party base. And everything you've been discussing just now is all about confirming, reassuring that party base, but not looking beyond it. You look at, go back to Disraeli or Baldwin, Churchill, Thatcher went for that middle ground. And that's what Cameron did as well.
Tobias,
you can write off Cameron. He won a couple of elections.
Tobias,
he won a couple of elections.
Tobias.
And there's also some foreign policy aspects that I think that's where he's going to be brought in. James Cleverly potentially doing the home office stuff.
Let me jump in for a reason, because I am completely gobsmacked by this. I understand what you're saying, and we are here to report what happens. What we're saying is that Suella Braverman, who appealed to the right of the party, wound the Prime Minister up that much that he's got rid of her. Because Sunak had absolutely no mandate from the British people, and because Sunak, with respect, now governs a party that many staunch Tories wouldn't recognise, his idea of shoring up his government is to bring a man back. I'd love your response to this, who was against Brexit, to have a Chancellor who was against Brexit, to have a Prime Minister who never got a mandate. Whatever your political persuasion, and listen, people would know what I stand for. He's a dead man walking, Rishi Sunak, isn't he? I mean, that's a desperate move. David Cameron, you've got to be joking, Tobias Ellwood.
All right. So many things to unpick there, and it's always good to engage with you. The one thing we do is respect each other's rights to speak and present the arguments, and that I appreciate. What I would say very, very clearly is that our electoral system works in the way that occasionally prime ministers are elected by the MPs themselves. That is our system. So when you say the electorate didn't vote for them, I'm afraid you're playing, because it works on both sides. That is the system that we have. We do not have a presidential construct. Now, going to Suella Braverman, you're absolutely right. She represented the right of the party and did that well. But there was insubordination. You cannot have any individual that chooses to pursue a separate agenda, whether it's on the left or the right or anywhere else. And what we've seen progressively is her pursuing an agenda not with the remit or indeed the backing, the endorsement of number 10. And you can't operate number 10. Whitehall can't work that way when there isn't cabinet collective responsibility. That's the situation with Suella Braverman. On the Brexit itself, I mean, my goodness, please accept that there are people like me that actually accept and appreciate the result of the referendum. What we are saying, many of us, and David Cameron will be there as well, I'm sure, is that where we've ended up is not where anybody expected us to be, whether you voted Remain or indeed Brexit. And I've been saying for quite some time, there's a better Brexit deal out there, but we're in denial to ever dare to talk about it because the issue has become so toxic. If I may just suggest, I hope that David Cameron will be brought in, because there is a statecraft role for Britain to be playing on the international stage. There's an absence of Western leadership akin to the 1930s. And there's what we see in the Middle East, what we see in Ukraine and elsewhere. Our world is starting to erode in international rules-based order. And there's a role for Britain to play from a leadership statecraft perspective, convening power, our soft power and so forth. We're not utilizing it now. We just had Remembrance Day to remember what Britain did twice in one century when we stepped forward when other nations hesitated. And we need to start thinking about that again, because as I say, we've entered a very, very dangerous era of where the world is now going.
Tobias, we've been receiving images of David Cameron obviously walking into number 10. Lots of people commenting that they don't quite know what year it is. What's your response to that? Obviously, we can only speculate at the moment, but how do you feel that's going to go down within your party?
Well, I know, just listening to that previous conversation as well, remember what David Cameron inherited. That austerity program was brought in because there was this gargantuan financial crisis that Labour left behind. And he did win a couple of elections that resulted in a Tory prime minister in number 10. I go back to that, what I emphasized at the beginning. We win elections when we fight from the centre right. If you move across to your base in the same way that when Labour moves across to its extreme under Jeremy Corbyn, you vacate the centre ground, the sweet spot of British politics. That's what wins you the elections. And what this reshuffle needs to do now is to clarify where Rishi Sunak wants to take the country as a comparator to what Labour is offering. The trouble is there's been so many self-inflicted wounds. We're not given a chance for Labour to be exposed, to be scrutinised, and that's almost gifting the keys to number 10 because of that. So I hope this reshuffle will strengthen a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, and colleagues will rally around it. We don't have an opportunity to change Prime Minister, as some is suggesting. That is complete madness. What we need now is professionalism, discipline, financial responsibility. These are the things which Rishi Sunak has been trying to provide and push forward in the last year. That's where we need to move forward.
Tobias, presumably, he'll have to be ennobled pretty quickly, David Cameron, if he is going to be Foreign Secretary. Certainly stay with TalkTV all today and we'll let you know whether that actually happens. You have your opinion. I have my opinion. We'd love to hear from you, by the way. Talk today at talk.tv and your text to 87222. It does, to me, smack of desperation. Let's just go forward 12 months. Rishi Sunak might lose the election. He might lose his job. Can Suella Braverman lead the Tory party?
Well, you really are speculating now. I've just made the point 3 times now. You appeal to the electorate, when you actually look like a centre-right politician. If all you're doing is appealing to our base, and this goes to the crux of where our party is now. Liz Truss illustrated this beautifully. You say things that appeal to our base, and that gets you elected as the leader of the party. Does that mean you're necessarily going to appeal to the electorate, the wider electorate? Probably not. That's the problem with Suella Braverman. She has a base, a tribe within our party itself, but it's not enough. The One Nation group would not be supporting that extreme, views, even though it's a very, very powerful caucus in our party itself. The power of the Prime Minister is the ability to be able to appeal to all the broad church, all the tribal structures, the caucuses within any party. This is the same, not just in Britain, but in the United States, in the Labour Party as well. If there's one tribe which is stronger or tries to overshadow what the Prime Minister is doing, then you're destined for electoral defeat.
But I would come back to it, and you said it, we all have different opinions, and that's what a democracy is about. To me, I don't know what Nick thinks. To bring back your ex-Prime Minister from 7 years ago, left in a hissy fit because you didn't like the fact that Brexit didn't work, to have as your Chancellor on the back of a majority in the House of Commons that was all about Brexit from Boris Johnson, to me, is the desperate last throw of the dice. That's how I see it, I'm being honest.
I think it's a smart move.
Do you?
I do. I think it's an incredibly smart move. I agree with Tobias Elwood there that you have to appeal.
No, why do you agree? Why do you think it's smart?
Because in the run-up to an election, you have to appeal to a broader voter base, and Suella Braverman did not have that.
Do you think it'll work?
I don't know if it will work, but I can absolutely see what he is doing, and I can appreciate why.
Yeah.
Tobias, from your experience as a Tory MP, what kind of support does Suella Braverman have, or did have? And do you think that that will be depleted because of today, or do you think that that support base will be strengthened by her being sacked?
We speak of these support bases. When you actually overlap the Kemi Badenoch support base, or the Liz Truss support base, or the Suella Braverman support base, you actually find there's a few people that are in all those same groups. And I just stress and plead, to my own party, is that when we look professional, when we look united, when we're all facing in the same direction, we win general elections. And that, I hope, is what Suella Braverman will now consider in recognising that every time she makes comments and so forth, there are marginal seats that potentially could be lost.
Tobias, she could be in trouble with that, because she's just said that it's been the greatest privilege of my life to serve as Home Secretary, adding, under her breath, I will have more to say in due course. I'm not, listen, I think we all have opinions. I fear not fear's the wrong word. I think the Tory party is about to do what it famously does and rip itself to shreds. That's what I think. That's my opinion.
I agree with that as well. I just think that this was both a smart move and will cause a lot of infighting.
I'm surprised Ed Vaizey didn't get the call, or you. Tobias Ellwood, thank you so much indeed for joining us this morning.